Okay, let's start. So welcome to the Live on ServiceNow webinar, and today's session is about get started with process optimization. My name is Timo Weber. I'm advisory solution consultant in the platform intelligence team. Today I'm joined by my wonderful colleague, Gail Cheeseman. Gail, if you want to introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the session.
And we will start immediately. So safe harbor notice, as you are following those webinars, very normal thing. So if we are saying forward-looking statement, please make sure that you don't buy because of that. So today's session, I don't think that we will do those forward-looking statements, but if you have any question, please use the chat, do QA if you're not sure what is this about. And in the beginning, some housekeeping rules. So please feel free to ask a question at the end. We have a couple of time reserved for Q&A. You can also use the chat or the Q&A Zoom functionality in between, and we try to answer them if the one is not presenting. So Dale will answer them if I'm presenting, and I will answer them if Dale is presenting, or at the end, you can come off mute and ask your question if you want. This session will be recorded and will be shared into the ServiceNow community. And after the event, you will be prompted to fill out a short survey. Thank you for your feedback there. Again, this is us. We are both your hosts today. We are both in the same team, both responsible for process optimization. And I will do the slideshow at the beginning, so the presentation, to give you a little bit more insights. What is process optimization about? How is that running on your instance with your data? And Dale will show on them live on our demo instance how that could look like. So if we start, I want to start with that quote: to do the best you can do until you know better, then you know better, do better. And why we're saying that, if we see some optimization that we can do as an iceberg, then we have traditional analytics. We can use reporting for that, or performance analytics, or other things. And if we don't do better, we want to have answers, for example, to the following questions. How many cases did we work on? Which type of cases we had, or tickets or incidents? How long did it take to close those cases? How did we perform against our targets? So measurements, targets, KPIs. And did we improve our cycle time? So these are things that we want to know if we want to get better. And this could like this. So guys that watching us a little bit longer know this is performance analytics. This is our PA out-of-the-box dashboard for incident management. This is the IT executive and the IT manager. And it could also look, for example, like this. So you have your breakdowns, you can see your trends, you can do all the calculation that you have to really get better, to understand where are you meeting your KPIs or where not. But also from this iceberg, we have the downside of that. And we have the traditional analytics, but sometimes we also want to know what is really happening. What is the why behind the KPI? And for that, there are questions that traditional analytics can't answer. So, for example, where's our process stuck? So where's the problem? Or where do our unnecessary rework happens? Or where are we wasting time in general? Where's the highest process variance? And other things that really help us to find out the why behind the KPI. And this is process optimization. And to explain you a little bit process optimization, I will guide you through an example where I will compare process optimization, so a process map, with a card, with a map. In this regards, I choose, because I'm from Germany, a map from Germany, from Berlin. And if you can see, there are bigger streets like the Autobahn, smaller streets, and other routes and things that you can easily see on that screen. If you go into the next one, you have your process map. Very easy to see that it goes, a couple of those incidents or tickets go to work in progress, other ones going directly to waiting caller info, other ones going then to resolved, and to close. So you can see really, your flow of your process that is running. And both have similar things. Both have places and paths. Again, on the left side, our maps, on the right side, your process map. And what you can do with that is you can do, for example, you can zoom in. You're not only seeing the bigger streets, you can also see the small streets that we have. small things where you can potentially not go through the car, potentially just walk there. And in the process, this is where less tickets are flowing into. And if you can zoom in, you can also zoom out to, again, see more the abstract and not all details. What you can also do is you can see bottlenecks. So which streets you should not go through is, for example, the hospital close the Charité. It's this dark red here, or other routes that you should not go through if you want to travel there. And also in the process, you see some bottlenecks. You have some bottlenecks. So, for example, everything that goes to canceled. Canceled is more or less a dead end, right? It not really starts somewhere there. So we really can see bottlenecks where traffic is in this case, Google Maps or another map software, and in the process map. And then we have multiple ways to get to the destination. I just randomly something in Berlin that you go into the Alexanderplatz, and you can see that there are different streets, different paths. And the same is there in a process. A process and an incident or a task can have different paths. It can go to different routes. It can go to different assignment groups or different states if you're flowing around, and it can take a different amount of time. So we have really a comparison between the map and the process map. And we're, for example, finding parking, which is in the process a loop where we're going all the time from work in process to waiting call info and again and again. That is like driving the street all the time of finding a parking lot somewhere. And yes, we have those map layers. With your favorite map software, we have satellite view, we have public transportation, we have commute views, you have some street views, some public transportation. This is on the map software. And on process optimization, we would have resources that we can check which resources are being used, which are flowing through. So like assignment groups or assigned users or activities, states, or other fields that you can use like an activity. And with variances. So which are the highest variance? Which are the top flow? Where's the happy flow of that? Or where's the best flow? The worst flow. The worst flow would mean is where is really things get going through that, which takes a long time. And this is really process optimization or process mining, where we are combining process engineering with data mining and machine learning to not only have a flow, which we can say and see state changes, but also can go into the data. Another example that we could use is, for example, this one. And on this picture, we can see we can go down in the park, and then we can go right, or we can go straight ahead. What we're going to do is we want to go right, and somebody thought about this park. Somebody thought about there's a design path, potentially an architect. He thought about this should be, you can go downstairs and then you're making a right turn there. But sometimes people are not using this design path. Sometimes people are using a shortcut. And this is the reality. So if we're comparing that again to a process, somebody thought it's a good idea that we have a start and an end, and this ticket flows exactly that way. But in the reality, it could like, oh, okay, it goes to the other assignment group, then it's leaving tier 1, it's going to tier 2, it's going to tier 3, to tier 2 again, to tier 1 again, then again that loop, and then process ends. So it's not really that we called an optimized process, or which is not delivering a great experience. So are we really in touch with our reality if we design that? And normally all processes on all ServiceNow projects start with, okay, let's design a process. Let's really use and think about how a process could look like, an incident process, an HR process, of really starting that way. And on the other side, we have the reality. And the reality here is that it looks close, but not really too close. And it gets started with process optimization. That's the title of this webinar. And here's the first thing. The data to create this reality is already mostly on the instance. It's already there, and it's called the event log. So we can use what is called the design path, which is your implementation. We can use the event log, which we are storing normally for all task tables in your instance automatically, those state changes, those field changes, which we can then use of creating such a reality view. which is then really a discovered process map, which is then really how it looks like, how your process is running from a reality point of view. So you can see how many tickets going from start to work in progress, or from work in progress to awaiting caller info, and also how long does it take. So what is the average duration for those tickets? So if you can see in that screenshot that 5,700 goes from work in progress to awaiting caller info, which take an average 1 day. So there you can see really the truth and the reality of your progress, and this is if it's good or not good. To doing that, we need a couple of things, right? And this is really the process mining to process optimization, is where we're extracting those data, those event logs, and generating those graphs. What we have there is really the task table. So everything what is inherited or combined with tasks. So everything for CSM, App Engine, task, incident, problem, change, service request, all kinds of tasks that we have in the instance, which are producing the audit log. So the data, the state changes that we have in there. And then we have our mining engine and our project configuration. The process configuration is like, this is the table, and this is the data and the query that you should use. These are the data source, the filter, which you should now use to analyze. So for example, active is false, the last 12 months, and everything in category software, for example. And then we have findings engine. The findings engine is a configurable thing where you can see and configure automatically multi-hop issues, for example. Things that coming out of the box and giving you great insights into your reality. So for example, how many incidents or how many tickets have a multiple reassignment or go into 2 or 3 groups more, or how many are getting open and resolved by the same person. So we're bringing with those things automatic content from the business units directly in. So these are the business unit content packs. What we also have is performance analytics benchmark. So you can, from every performance analytics indicator, you can create such a graph. So if you see an increase or decrease of an KPI of an indicator, which you think, oh, what's that? Where is that coming from? You can immediately jump to process optimization with one click, mine the underlying data and find out the why behind the KPI. And also you can use continuous improvement. And continuous improvement is, okay, I saw something, I found something in my flow, I saw something which is not okay, which I want to do better. So you can start your continuous improvement initiative directly from process optimization. And also we added machine learning, so you can use clustering and you can use automatic root cause analysis and automation opportunities to detect what you can do better with that. In regards to content packs, we have different ones. We have, for example, one for ITSM, which has project and process templates already in there, which you can copy and clone, which you can start with, for incident, problem, change, and for service request, which are all combined, including 24 findings definitions. And Dale will show us a couple of those later today. For HR, we have content packs, which is covering the HR cases and the HR lifecycle events within 6 finding definitions. CSM, we have content packs for customer service and related tables with 8 findings definition, and many more will come. Or you can create your own, which is very, very easy of defining what is an acceptable state, what is an acceptable flow, and what do you want to analyze with those finding templates. With that, it's very easy to using that. And this is a very easy chart, but you can take a ServiceNow workflow. You can define the process model with those business content packs. You can generate your process map very, very quickly. And then you're starting analyzing and optimize and doing that a couple of times to get really better, to get really a better process, to finding your bottlenecks and your things that you want to do better. As an example, how to optimize the process of ServiceNow. This could help you. So we have 4 phases where we have our detect phase. And in our detect phase, we are trying to find process anomalies. And this could be because of SLA notification, because we can see in the report that we have a couple of things that all the time happen, that we're receiving emails, that we see trends in our data, that we are getting not better in our process, right? That mean time to resolve is slowing down and not increasing. And you can use for that, for example, our performance analytics. You can use targets, thresholds, or Spotlight, or you can simply talk to your end users, to your employees, or to your customers and saying, what is your experience? So you're using detect to find out that we can tune something. And then we go into analyze. And with analyze, we're trying to really understand the process, and we're trying to find the root cause. But we're using for that the visualized process maps or bottleneck analyzer, which are staying to you and giving you exactly the insight. Where does it come from? Where is the bottleneck based on the process? We can use machine learning to finding out the root cause of that based on machine learning algorithm, and can calculate that to see if that makes sense. Or variation analysis, which is the most frequent route an incident is taken through the system, and why? What is really doing with that? Or we can also try to tweak that and find that we have more opportunities with automation discovery, which is included into process optimization. And then we go into improve, right? So with detect and with analyze, we know what happened and potentially why that happened. We really have the reality on our screen, and then we're going to improve. And for improving, we can use the complete platform. We can use everything that we have. We can use a virtual agent conversation of increasing stop service. We can use predictive intelligence, for example, of reassign tickets or assign tickets automatically the first time right to the right group using classification framework. Or we can use automation engine RPA of automating things, of having an integration to all kinds of third level systems that we have. Or creating coaching loops, creating knowledge base articles, whatever may help, but really makes sense to then improve. And we are going to monitor that. So with process optimization, you can run the same job again 1 month or 2 months later, and you can compare graphs to see, did my improved job that I initialized really helped? Is that really good? You can see that in performance analytics, if a trend goes down, you can see that with benchmarks, or you can also run the same thing again, start with detect, and have really a continuous loop. Another really example is the throughput time example. What you can do here is in detect, you would see really the increase in the trend line of the throughput time. This is performance analytics, which we can measure. In the analyze, we found out that the group change leads to a 4-month delay. So this is in our analyze phase, where we go into that indicator, mine the underlying data, and can find out, okay, there's a group change. There's something happening which really leads to a big delay. And we can then improve. In our example, we choose to use classification to predict the category and assignment group based on predictive intelligence. And then we're going to, again, to monitor, we created a continuous improvement entry. We associated the KPIs and the baseline, and we track and communicate the improvements. That we have a closed loop from detect to monitor would really get better. With that, I would love to hand over to Dale, which will show us a quick demo of how that looks in a ServiceNow instance instead of just in PowerPoint slides.
Thank you very much, Joost. Timo, sorry, I was just actually answering a question on Q&A. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. And what I'm going to do here is, this is obviously talking about getting started. So from a getting started point of view, the first thing is obviously it's a plugin. Now, I have just answered the question on Q&A, but I'll answer it again. Process optimization originally was available as a part of the enterprise SKU, ITSM enterprise, HR enterprise. Process optimization is now available in its own separate SKU on its own. So you can actually get that without the enterprise bolt-on that some people are looking at. So I've answered that. The thing about getting started with this is that it's very simple from a plugin perspective. By going to the plugins and just type in process op, I get the results. So as you can see, we've got process optimization and you've got content packs here. So if you just enable process optimization on its own, or if you're doing it for ITSM, if you enable this one, it will automatically switch on process optimization as well. So that's very simple. All you have to do is deploy the content packs. Now, once you've installed it, there's a little bit of a trick. Don't forget to refresh your browser because then it will appear. So it's just a case of go to the plugins, find the process optimization with the content pack that you want, hit the install button, and away you go. Once that's done, what it does is by enabling either content pack, so if you enable the ITSM content pack, it actually gives you sort of template definitions. Now, depending on the version that you're on, what you'll get is, you see in mine, I've got quite a few, but what you'll end up with is you'll get things where they're built ready to go. So if I just sort by my number, you'll see that I've got, basic ones that, for example, here. Now, this one is basically an out of the box one, incident process optimization, assignment group analysis, records closed in 30 days. But when you actually go into that, it's probably in a read-only state. So, you can't do anything with it. But all you have to do very simply is just hit the copy button. The copy button will initiate a duplicate of it and make it editable. For anybody who has virtual agent, we deploy the virtual agent with read-only topics and read-only NLU models. This is pretty much the same thing. We're giving you templates, but we don't want you to edit those templates, but you can just copy the model definition files. So that's what this is going to do. So if I start to look at a mine to start with, and then I'll go back and show you how you build an actual process. So as you can see from my environment here, I've got case, incident, process. Now, what's important to note here is I've got an incident process state analysis, and you could have something where you're invoking different types of things. So for example, right down here at the bottom, I've created a mine that's IT operation process, incidents and problems. And here, if I look at my definitions, I'm going to do, from an incident point of view, look at state, assignment group, caused by change, and problem. And then from the problem definition, I've got state, assignment group, category, and priority. So I've done different things. So once you go into one of these, once you've mined the data, I'm going to go back and mine something. If I go into this big one, no, I'll do the easy one first. This is the incident state analysis. So when I go into this, depending on how you've built your mine, you're presented with certain pieces of information. So the first thing is on the summary and insights table, what actually happens here is it basically looks for conformance improvement opportunities, or where there's a performance issue that it's seeing. So under this performance banner here, it's giving me that long close time. In other words, records that take longer than 7 days to go from resolved to closed. Now, it's basically giving me a load of records, but what's important from here, it's giving you some options, some opportunities. But then you've got this run cluster analysis. And Timo was mentioning this before, that when you start looking at your workbench and you see a flow that you don't like, or why is that? Why is this line taking so long? So when Timo was talking about that route through that's red on the map, when you start looking at the process, if you see something that's a bit chunky and a bit timely, you can click on that line from within the workbench and run clustering. And that means it'll take the records that are in that line of the mine and actually go and run clustering analytics. But you can actually do it from what its opportunity is and present that there. But also in the analyst workbench, again, depending on how you've built it, you can also do, this is where I'm looking at the incidents table. Then I've got my breakdown filters. And underneath my breakdown filters, in my breakdown, I've decided to potentially look at it from a channel, from assignment group, service, priority, or category. So that means from this list view here, I'm looking at the channel at the moment, but I could say, well, what service is it? So now it starts looking at the services. I'll come back to that in a second. On the main side of the window here, you've got your mapping here of created, new, assigned, and process end. This is because it's only looking at state. So as I start to drill into this, it starts to get more of like what Timo said, it starts to look more like, a map. So as you see, if I minimize my activities, Okay, you'll see there's not a lot in here. But if I start to drill in, as Timo was doing before, zooming in on the map, it starts to break down into a deeper area. So, for example, here, you're starting to see connections where they're going to certain places. So if there's something that you don't like, so for example, if I just zoom in a little bit here, on this line here, I've got from assigned to awaiting equipment, so that path. I've got 155 records and it's got 20 hours. If I click on it, it actually shows me the occurrences, the total time, the average time, how many deviations I had. It gives me analytical information. But then again, it's given me 4 options of clustering analysis, show the records, run root cause analysis, or even apply a transition. So I'll come back to the transition in a second. So you've got this capability of zooming in. So for me, from my background in IT, I've got about 27 years. If I was looking at a process, the things that would stick at me is things that are taking long periods of time. If I start seeing loopbacks, so for example, there's a little loopback just hiding there. I'd start saying, well, why have I got 339 records averaging 3 days where it's looping back from one process back in? So have I got a bottleneck there or something that's bouncing? But then I could say, well, hold on, this is getting a bit crazy, this map. It's getting a bit big for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of home in on a certain area. So I'm going to look at an assignment group, easiest thing to look at. So I'm going to look at the IT support Americas and I'm going to click apply. So now what happens is the model filters out everything else other than that's affecting in the process of IT Americas. So now I've got this whole different viewpoint, okay? So this is another way of looking at this. I've also got in here, I think Timo mentioned it, I can also look at global metrics, and this is looking at unique occurrences. So this is looking at the unique occurrences. This field is showing me the average duration. So I could change that and go total duration. So this second field now will change from 3 weeks to average as 4 minutes. So it's giving me my information. Other things it's got, you can add notes. You can also link a sim. Now, this is important. When Timo was talking about performance analytics before, if you're in performance analytics and you see a metric you don't like, you could, from there, click the mining option. I'll show you that in a second, where I can press the button and the filters of that particular performance analytics indicator, I'll take that information and I'll mine that. And I'll also bring the breakdowns within PA and bring those breakdowns in as well. So it will start mining. But to close that loop, I could also generate a sim from the mine. So if I mine the data from PA, look at the mine, I could then say, well, I now want to link it to a sim. So I could look at creating a sim, or I can look at open sims and link them. It's a nice little way of doing that. And then you've also got the scheduled tasks. So this is looking at any tasks I've got queued from within this particular mine. Then the final option before I go back is you've then got automation opportunities. Now, what this is, this is our automation discovery, but is now available in process optimization. So what this is doing is it's looking at the records of the 31,000 records, and then it's using our automation discovery and our ITSM taxonomy to basically say, of the 31,000 records, I can see a potential of 14,000 possible deflections, which equates to 137 automation opportunities. And of the 137 opportunities, 28 of them, we already have VA conversations there for you. And then what this does is here, it looks at breaking them into these taxonomy pots. So here you can see under the emailing transitions in my mind, there is a potential, a current MTTR is 18 days. I can see that the IT support service desk level 1 are dealing with the volume of them. followed by support IT. And then I've got the description values of how they're being asked for. So that's giving me that information. You'll also see this little chat box. In other words, there is a VA ready to handle this. But then you've got what's called the not categorized. And in here, this is where it doesn't fit one of our taxonomy pots, and it drops it into almost like the clustering area. So this is looking at account access issue, and it's currently taking us nearly 6 days, showing us who's dealing with it, where it's the Americas, and basically how we're asking for things. So even though we can drop it into one of our pots of VA potentials, we're also basically saying, but we have grouped it into a cluster for you to have a look. So in this world of mining of data, we're doing so much more. So we're giving you summary and insights where the modeling is detecting conformance, quality, and performance issues. It's also allowing you to see the data and digest and delve into the data. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, when you go a bit further, if I go back and go into this very large one, now I'm looking at incidents and problems. So when I click on this one, this is incident and problems here. When you look at the workbench, you'll see there's problem and there's incident, okay? Now, remember what we've got now is we've got this 2 table sets that we're now marrying. And if we look at the zooming in, you'll see as I start to zoom in, this will get messy very, very quickly. So this is where this filtering always comes in handy, because if I look at my filter and go to my category, and I look at, let's say, IT business services and click apply, it now basically brings back, and you can see that number's reduced. If I click on that, you'll see that I've got problems here that are going to this stage. So this is where there's linked problems coming in, okay? So you see it's switched to the problem table. If I switch back over here, I'm back at looking at IT services. So it gives me that ability to not just look across one table, but a multitude of tables and link them together. And the summary and insights for this one may look a bit different. So this is how you view it. We've got HR, as you can see, I've got HR information in here where I'm looking at HR data. Now, again, these look very basic because all I'm doing is mining on one process, okay, or one breakdown or one filter. So to go back to process mining itself, I'm just going to go into process optimization here, and I'm going to go to create new. So I'm going to create a brand new project. Now, all I have to do is name it. So I'm going to say incident data. I'm going to say last, let's say the last 60, let's say 3 months. And then I can put a description in. But what I'm going to do is, you see here, it's giving me this. Do you want to link it to a KPI dashboard? Don't want to do that at the moment. Or do I want to make it a template? So I'm just going to say none to them, and I'm just going to click save. So once I've got this saved, I've now got the table configurations. So the first thing I want to do is click new. And what I'm trying to do here is, where am I mapping? So the first thing is I'm going to say, it's a table. And I'm going to drop down. I'm going to say incident. I'm going to say the incident table. And here I'm going to, I said the last 3 months. So I'm going to say created in the last, let's say 3 months. So that should, if I hit preview, it'll give me, so I've got no record. So immediately I've got a problem. I want to do 3 months, but I've got no data. So let me say last 12 months. Let's see if that gives me anything. So I've now got 50,000, bit too many. So I'm going to just take that down to 6 months. So hopefully, nope, might need to go back up to 12. Let's do 9. In fact, let me just do the 12 because I'm not going to do, you're not going to see the full mine results. So I'm going to click preview. So it's giving me 50,000. And what I could say is I could put in another criteria. So if I wanted to just mine a certain group or filter certain things out, I can. But what I'm going to say is, and let's say state is one of, let's say is, if I do this, if I say is closed, if I preview, it's giving me that. So I could say is one of, and I'll say now is, let's say resolved and closed. So I've got that. So now I've got that, I can do an advanced condition if I want to. So I could start looking at a certain process start condition. That's if I want to, I'm looking at the range, but I want to say, I don't want it from the start of the new ticket coming in. I want to start from the further in. I can do that. But for now, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to call this incident, that's his last 12 months. So the one thing I've got to change is my filter. So I'm going to change that, and I'm just going to click submit. So that now locks me into the table itself. Okay. So I'm just going to click update. I'm going to change this now to 12 months because I know I didn't have anything for 3 months. And I'm going to say resolved and closed. Now this is where you start doing your breaking down here. So what I'm going to do is my project finding definitions. I'm going to click new. Now here I'm going to say category. This is giving me where I want to pick up on, let's say, performance, or where you saw where tickets taking so long. I can do that there, but for timing, I'm going to ignore that for now. So I've got my process finding definitions already there. So what I want to do now is in here, I'm now going to add in what my activity definitions are. So I'm going to click new. And this gets a lot simpler now. So if I'm going to say assignment group, don't have to give it a display name because it'll take that anyway. I can group them. And you can also, this here is a new feature, activity of interest. Check this box if you do not want the field to field changes to appear on the analyst workbench, but can be used in the findings. So at the moment, I'm just going to leave them all as blank. So I'm going to click submit. I'm going to come back and I'm going to add in another one. I'm going to click new. And this time I'll do something like category. So I'll click submit on that one. And I'll click new again. Just do one more and let me see. Let me do this one. Which is the one I wanted to do is, let's say made SLA. Click submit. So I've got 3 breakdown potentials. Then I've got my breakdown definitions. Okay, so the breakdowns are on the left-hand side. So potentially I may want to see things in a certain way. So I may want to look at my left-hand side filter, let's say by assignment group. So I'll say assignment group name, submit. Again, I might want to break down by category as an example. So I'll keep it simple for now. And I'll say category and I'll click submit. And then the final one is I'll do it new and I'll do by state as an example. So I'll just come down to state. Okay. So what I've now got is I've got everything I need, but I want to filter on. Got no advanced conditions. I'm just going to click update. Now, remember when I did that one incident and problem, if I wanted to put problem in here or link changes, I could just do a new definition here. Okay. So I'm now ready. Okay. Now I could hit the full model, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit generate me a sample. So in other words, so I'm not mining the full thing. What it's going to do is it's just going to collect a small subset of records and all the conditions and trust. No, that's great. Didn't need that. No audio. Okay. So incident table configuration. Okay. So there's something wrong in my configuration. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just take that out. Just click update. And hopefully that should be enough. Okay. Apologize.
I might jump in and just explain why Just one user, PO demo user, have the auto block. This is just based on our demo data.
Yeah, sorry,
But,
yeah.
this is running exactly that.
So what actually happens is, looking at your data, what you end up with, if I just go back into process optimization, if I go back to the analyst workbench, the conditions that I've just added in, the breakdown definitions, what you will get is that when I showed you that large breakdown one, which was in here, was it? Go back to it. So when I did that large one, which was, if I go all, which was this here, you see here I've got 3 different ones. So that breakdowns that I added in, that is in the workbench on the left-hand side, breakdown filters. The activity definitions is where you can see if I added in assignment group and category, as I would start zooming in, it would start giving me more information. So that's what I wanted to show you. Okay. Just this through. So here, so these are what's called the activity definitions. So when you look at this here, these are them. So you see these 2 are grayed out at the moment. If I start to zoom in, you'll now see that problem is activated. So somewhere in here, which again, probably lurking somewhere, is where there is there you go, there. So that's where this definition has come in, where there's been a problem attached. If I start to zoom in further, maybe you'll get a cause by change appearing. So now cause by change as a detail has now come into play. So in here somewhere, there is a cause by change, which again, you see, this is where, having that breakdown definition comes into play. So this is where I can come in here and say, right, let me look at the service and let me look at, let's say, corporate VPN and wireless monitoring and apply that. It then shows me those two fields. Well, then in here, where are these? So these are 3 hidden values. So if I basically click on here, I could start to zoom in. So these are showing me where the problems were attached. And if I look here, if I zoom in again, I've got category appearing. Here's the categories. So there's the problem area as I'm zooming in. So if I go back to this one, you'll see that caused by change. Where are they? So this is where it gets a bit, you're looking for the purple diamond, and there's the cause by change. So it's this area here. So if I click on that line, I can see cause by changes, and I can look and run a clustering analysis. I don't want to go too deep into this, but as Timo sort of mentioned, as you zoom in, it gets more and more complicated. So this is why it's always useful to say, well, I'm going to filter down onto certain things. So I'm going to say, I'll filter in on monitoring systems as an example. So now I'm just filtering just on those particular areas. Okay. Timo, do you want to add anything on this?
No, we are good to go.
Okay, so I'm going to hand back to Timo. I think you've got a couple more slides you want to present back. Is that correct?
Exactly. Let me take over.
Okay.
Thanks, Dale. I think you covered almost everything in a very less short amount of time. So process optimization is really full. To just get a little back, what are the key features in here that I think we can tick mark everything, and Dale showed us everything here. It's really a one-click process mining, and what Dale showed us was he created a project from scratch, but he also showed us how to copy a solution definition, how to copy such project and starting with that. So one-click process mining, it's really defining your filter, change a little bit the breakdowns, and there you can go. We have the summary and insights tab where we have the predefined finding definitions. We also include some KPIs from performance analytics. And we have the quick start process and content pack I mentioned. So they're available for HR, for CSM, for ITSM, but it's also not hard to build on your own. If something is not available right now, you can simply build your process configuration, type in which fields are needed, etc. We have the AI-powered root cause analysis, and there was a question. I just posted again the link to the docs. If you need more information, let us know. But it's a very cool feature to find from which category it could come from. So really, where could be the root cause? We have automation discovery for RPA and VA that Dale showed us. We are available for benchmarking and performance comparison, which is also a feature which is available. And we have multi-dimensional process analysis. So incident and problem connected, or if we have, for example, HR with a joiner leave a mover or a joiner request, joiner case, where are the depending things? Where are we losing time if we have a process that is following more than one table, more than incident, right? And for sure, we have integration with AI hyper automation. So you can see, you can link your web automation engine in there. If you need more, we have a couple of things available. There's an on-demand training. There are now stuff with what we internally did with process optimization. There are Forbes article about that. We have a big community forum where all the product management is answering things. We have a process optimization academy on Friday, which you can link on, and for sure other live on now webinars where we already started talking about process optimization in there, and we can share that links for sure with you. Now a little bit of time of questions. I believe we answered all questions in the Q&A. And here are already the links shared with you. But if there are more questions, we are happy to go through, answer them directly in that call.
Everybody's either amazed or they're all trying to digest this. Okay.
Exactly.
If we have no questions, we'd like to thank you all. As Timo mentioned, there's a lot of links that we've sent. And again, just to reiterate that the community's there. If there's no other questions, we thank you for joining today, and we'll see you again soon. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.